Powerpuff Girls was one of Cartoon Network's greatest show that first aired in 1998. It revolved around 3 genetically modified lab girls who served as the protagonists and the heroes of Townsville. It was made in the USA and ran for 6 good seasons, and today we shall have the honor of revisiting the characters present in the show. We shall see who the heroes were, who the villains were, and also some detragonists who never played a huge role in the show. Later we shall see all the cast members who voiced the characters, who they are and how old they are today. Let us start with the beautiful Blossom, who was one of the 3 Powerpuff Girls, and was seen to be the commander and leader among them. The only reason she was the ruler was because she was smarter than Bubbles and Buttercup, and was actually more mature and level-headed. She knew how to come up with bright ideas and analyze critical situations during fights, and was also the peacemaker among the trio. She was the smartest girl in the whole city of Townsville, and it was Chloe Bennett who voiced her, an American actress and model who is very well known for her role in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. playing Daisy Johnson. Bubbles was also among the Powerpuff Girls trio, and was the cute one who was so innocent and was the joy and laughter side of the group. She was the most emotional and was the sugar in the theme, sugar, spice, and everything nice. As you can see, she loved rocking her blonde hair in 2 pigtails, and always wore a sky blue dress and black Mary Janes. She had such a sweet personality, and her sisters always called her the weakest link in the group because she had the tendency of forgiving the enemies who terrorized Townsville. And due to her soft emotions, she loved crying most of the time, especially when she got scolded by her sisters. But even so, she was a fighting machine when it came to battles, and would get aggressive when her emotions reached her peak. She was voiced by Tara Strong, who is one of the world's greatest voice actors to live in the 20th century era, and has done so many roles in both cartoon shows and animation movies. There was this boy called Mitch Mitchelson, who was the most famous kid in Pokey Oaks Kindergarten, which was the school in the show. He lived in a trailer park with his grandmother, who was always seen watching TV all day due to her old age. He was a good friend of Buttercup and was 5 years old in the show. He was so mischievous and was actually known to be a bully to nerds and soft people like Bubbles. In the show, we were told that he didn't have parents and was maybe abandoned to live with his aging grandma. The famous Tom Kenny voiced this kid, and is a very distinguished voice actor that is very famous for voicing SpongeBob. Buttercup was the toughest fighter in the Powerpuff trio and in the whole city of Townsville. Her signature color was green, and was the spice in sugar, spice, and everything nice. She was mostly the muscle of the group, and was always the most enraged and aggressive sister. She was also known to be so egotistical and never accepted defeats even when she was beaten. She loved winning, money, fighting, night parties, eating cereals, and also her green blanket, which she named Blanky. This warrior was voiced by Elizabeth Daily, who is an American actress and singer, and apart from this show, she also played the role of Tommy Pickles on the Rugrats animated show. Professor Utonium was the scientist responsible for creating the Powerpuff Girls, and was also a teacher in quantum physics and micronuclear fusion. Ever since he created the girls, he always acted as their father, and was so overprotective and very affectionate to them. When it comes to schoolwork, he was seen to be strict to the girls, and always encouraged them to study hard. His inventions were somehow weird, as we saw that the inventions he created on purpose did not work, but those which he created by accidents worked so well. We also learnt that he did not like the smell of liver and onions, a habit which even the girls possessed. Another thing to note is that he was so unsuccessful in love even after dating more than 3 women in the show. Tom Kane was responsible for the professor's voice, and is a retired American voice actor who is now a father of 9 children. Next is Mojo Jojo, who was the main villain in the show, and was the arch-enemy of the Powerpuff Girls. He was an intelligent antagonist who was also a mad scientist chimpanzee that always wanted to take over the world and destroy the Powerpuff Girls. He defeated the girls in several episodes, making him the most successful villain in the series. He spent so much time inventing new weapons or technological gadgets which were supposed to help him in his quest. He was voiced by Roger Jackson, who is an American voice actor who was also heard in the Scream franchise playing the role of Ghostface. Miss Cerebellum was another character who was seen, mostly her lower body, in most episodes. She was the mayor's loyal secretary and deputy who was also referred to as the brains behind the man due to her intelligence. She was a tall, skinny woman with a curvaceous figure and a long, curly orange set of hair. Her face was rarely shown as a way of making the series a little more mysterious, and was known to be a very calm and understanding woman. She always rolled as a very good role model to the Powerpuff Girls, and was often seen advising them. And in her private life, she was seen to be single and not ready to mingle. She rarely spoke to anyone outside her work hours, and it was the voice of Jennifer Martin who voiced her, who is an actress of movies and stage films. Ace was a minor villain in the show, and was seen to be the leader of a gang called the Gone Green Gang. He was 17 years old in the show, and was a mean-spirited, opportunistic rogue. He always spoke and acted like a juvenile delinquent fella, and was so mean and disrespectful to others. He had an Italian New Yorker accent, and was the gang's smartest member. He was voiced by Jeff Bennett, who is an American voice actor that has been a Cartoon Network legend ever since the early 90s. Another villain who appeared consecutively was Fuzzy Lumpkins, and was a guy who lived in the woods far away from Townsville. He did not tolerate anyone trespassing in his property, and was seen to be lazy when not disturbed. He was seen to also enjoy music, mostly the banjo, but was most of the times a greedy and dangerous antisocial being. He had a superhuman level of strength which he used to fight off anyone trespassing in his territory. Sometimes he was seen collaborating with other villains including Mojo Jojo in order to overpower the Powerpuff Girls. A grumpy fella voiced by the iconic Jim Cummings, a man who is an American actor and a podcaster who has over 400 credits of roles to his name. Miss Keene was a teacher in Pokey Oaks Kindergarten where the Powerpuff Girls went to school. She lived with her pet cat called Valentino, and was seen wearing an orange short-sleeve shirt dress and brown sets of leggings. She was so patient with her students and so understanding, and very protective to her students. She had that motherly vibe to everyone, and was very well loved by all. She actually once had a relationship with Professor Utonium, but eventually broke up due to some unspecified details. A beautiful teacher voiced by Jennifer Hale, who is a Canadian-American voice actress who is mostly known for her roles in video games such as Metal Gear Solid, Halo, and Overwatch. Julie Smith was from the Smith family, and was the youngest in the bunch. She loved playing jacks, and somehow did not like the Powerpuff Girls because they misplaced her game pieces. She went on and became a villain in order to destroy the girls, simply because they lost her game. She was voiced by Kath Soucie, who is an American voice actress known best for voicing Lil and Betty in the famous animated show called The Rugrats, and also Lola Bunny in the Looney Tunes franchise. Another villain seen in the show was Lil Arturo, who was a member of the Gone Green Gang and the youngest, being only 12 years old. He was so short and spoke with a Mexican-Spanish accent. What he loved the most was his switchblade comb, such that he called it his Maria Conchita Teresa Rosalita. The reason he loved the comb was because it was a gift from his father who was sentenced to life in prison, so the comb was a constant figure of his father. Voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, who is a legendary American actor who has been in the voicing game all his life. The Boogeyman appeared in the episode Boogie Frights, and was the main villain in that particular episode. He loved disco and was a monster that doomed eternal darkness in Townsville. The episode ended when he was defeated by the girls and was hurled deep into space. The deep voice of Kevin Michael Richardson was responsible for him. Bossman was the leader of the Amoeba Boys, and was seen to be a dim-witted amoeba who acted like a 1930s criminal. He became the leader not because of his intelligence, but because he was bigger than the rest. He was a large teal translucent amoeba with a lighter-colored membrane and a bunch of aqua contractile vacuoles floating around inside of his cytoplasm. He was voiced by Chuck McCann, who was an American actor and comedian, and also did some puppeteering in a career that spanned for over 70 years. Sadly, this legend passed away on 8th of April, 2018 from a congestive heart failure. He was only 84 years old. The White Kitty was another enemy of the Powerpuff Girls, who had the power of hypnosis which he used mostly on Professor Utonium. He was voiced by Mark Hamill, who is an American actor who is now blessed with 3 children. Mascumax was a one-time villain who appeared in the episode called Members Only, and was an evil humanoid robot alien from outer space who wanted to fight in order to become more powerful. He was a giant blue-skinned cyborg who wore a red armor and a white helmet. This villain had incredible strength and endurance during fights, and was also armed with a giant shotgun laser cannon which he used to fire and also use as a club. He was voiced by Clarence John Brown III, who is an American actor who you'd probably remember as Krusty Krab in SpongeBob. Abracadaver was another antagonistic villain in the show, and was seen to be an undead magician with frightening magical powers. He had the ability to vanish right in front of your eyes, and was a very self-conceited fella. He was also very sensitive to mockery, especially when he was doing some tricks then the crowd laughs. Later in the show, he was seen to be so vengeful, and wanted to torment the living with his sorcery. And due to his undead nature, he was capable of actual dark magic, and also had the ability to levitate objects. He also had the power to turn any kind of matter into any form of weapon he wanted. He was voiced by the famous Franklin Wendell Welker, who is an American actor and voice actor. This show had infinite number of villains, because another antagonist was the Masked Scara, who was a very thin and crazy woman who put irremovable trashy makeup on everyone and everything. She was once a normal woman who was a rich and popular fashion Mongol who unfortunately went bankrupt, and this made her insane. Literally. She was voiced by Phyllis Diller, who was once an American comedian and actress who was known for her wild humor and weird clothes that she loved wearing. She sadly met her end on August 20th, 2012 at the age of 95. And finally we have Brick, who was a recurring antagonist in the show. He was the leader of the Rowdy Rough Boys and the evil counterpart of Blossom. He was created by Mojo Jojo, who wanted to have his own warrior, and his favorite color was red. He was greedy for power and also had a menacing personality. He loved arguing even with his team, and was an arrogant kid with high levels of ego. He also enjoyed beating up people and taunting those around him as a way of asserting dominance. He was voiced by Rob Paulson, who is a retired American voice actor that is best known for his multiple roles in Animaniacs and the Looney Tunes franchise. Thank you for watching today's episode, and I hope to see you in the next.